When it comes to the best Pokemon Switch game, it's difficult to look too much further than Pokemon Legends Arceus. The 2022 title offered fans a glimpse of what an open-world Pokemon game might look like while also introducing several innovative new ideas and mechanics and building upon some of the ones that debuted in Sword and Shield. Series fans jumped at the chance to explore an ancient version of the Sinnoh region, which first appeared back in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. The introduction of Hisuian variants only added to the allure and also opened up the door to the possibility of future Pokemon Legends games that explore the origins of other fan-favorite regions such as Kanto, Johto, and Hoenn. Pokkén Tournament started life as a 2015 arcade title, before being ported to the Wii U the following year. An enhanced port of the game known as Pokkén Tournament DX was then released for the Switch in 2017, bringing with it a few new version-specific Pokemon, such as Decidueye, Aegislash, and Blastoise. As the name might suggest, the game serves as a crossover between the Pokemon and Tekken franchises, with players taking control of one of 23 different Pokemon to partake in classic fighting game-style combat. It reviewed fairly well and can be a lot of fun in short bursts, but definitely lacks the depth of a top-tier fighting game. Pokemon Sword and Shield took us into Generation 8 and introduced us to the region of Galar, taking inspiration from Great Britain. There were over 80 new Pokemon to meet, including the pseudo-legendary Dragapult and the hauntingly adorable Polteageist. The games also debuted max raid battles, where you can team up with other players, or NPCs, to defeat and catch Dynamax Pokemon in the wild area. While the graphics didn't quite rise to the heights of other first-party games on the Switch, Sword and Shield were still a fun foray into a new region, with exciting multiplayer features. A sequel to the beloved 1999 game Pokémon Snap, new Pokémon Snap follows much of the same tones of the original. Explore Pokémon in their natural habitats and snap photos of them. Any old photo won't do though. To progress, you'll need to photograph different Pokémon behaviors. The nature of new Pokémon Snap lets you see Pokémon in a way you've never seen them before. That itself makes the game charming enough to play, but the possibility of snapping photos of mythical Pokémon, like Mew, makes it all the more intriguing. Although some may prefer the classic Gen 1 titles, Pokémon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu are undoubtedly far more accessible, both when it comes to obtaining a copy and actually playing through it. The 2018 remakes also offer up some pretty big improvements, not just in the visual department but also when it comes to the game's core mechanics. That the remakes proved to be so popular among fans was perhaps indicative of how stale the series formula was starting to feel, but it's also a testament to how great the original titles really were. Pokémon Red and Blue helped to spawn one of the largest gaming IPs in existence, and being able to re-experience these classic titles with yet another fresh coat of paint should, therefore, prove to be a real treat for series fans. The Pokémon Mystery Dungeon games are nowhere near as popular as the mainline titles, but they've managed to attract a fairly sizable fan base over the years nonetheless. Pokémon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX is a remake of the original Mystery Dungeon titles, which were first released on the DS way back in 2005. It's clear that a lot of care and attention went into this remake, both when it comes to the visuals and the gameplay itself. Those who enjoyed the original games will adore what Pokémon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX has to offer, as too will anybody who's grown tired of the tried and tested Pokémon formula, but still adores the characters. Pokémon Scarlet and Violet are the series' first true foray into the open-world genre. You can choose where to go, whenever you want, following 3 different storylines in the region of Paldea. There are plenty of new and returning Pokémon to catch, giving you all the more reason to explore the region to its fullest. Despite this, the games suffer from graphical limitations, leading to bugs and glitches that hinder the overall experience. Perhaps Pokémon's ambitions were too high, and the development time too short. With more polish, Scarlet and Violet certainly could have been the greatest Pokémon games to date, but that sadly isn't quite the case. Given how great some of the other Pokémon remakes have been, Pokémon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl came as a bit of a disappointment. Sure, they did bring with them a few nice additions, and allowed players to get their hands on a pretty decent selection of mythical and legendary Pokémon. However, when compared to the likes of Heart Gold and Soul Silver, they definitely came up short. To be clear, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are definitely a step up from the originals due to how easily accessible they are. Whether or not the new visuals are all that much better is debatable though, with many fans unhappy with the decision to go with a chibi art style. They're not bad games, but they could certainly have been much better.
A light roast today, huh?
Detective Pikachu was popular on the 3DS, but it was made even more popular with the 2019 movie. Everyone's favorite detective made his way to the Nintendo Switch in 2023 with a new case to solve and mysteries to uncover in Detective Pikachu Returns. While Pikachu, as a character, is as charming and funny as ever, the lackluster graphics and easy gameplay don't quite match up to the original. Despite this, Detective Pikachu Returns is still a fun time, especially if you're looking for a laid-back, chill adventure in the Pokemon world that's not the same as your usual mainline game.
Impa.
In this free-to-play game, you play in a team of 5 against another 5-player team, aiming to score the most points by defeating wild Pokemon, leveling up your own Pokemon, and defeating Pokemon on the opposing team. Teamwork is key in this game, as you'll have to work in synergy with the other 4 players on your team, which is pretty much a first for the Pokemon series as a whole. You can even style up your Pokemon in holographic outfits known as Holoware, adding an element of customization to your play too. Developed by Game Freak and released simultaneously on Switch and mobile devices, Pokémon Quest is an action-adventure game that uses blocky graphics similar to the ones found in Minecraft. Pokémon Quest, you can explore Tumblecube Island, where your main goal is to search for loot. Go back to your base camp to use your loot, and cook up dishes to attract new Pokémon for your expedition team. A big part of this is down to the game's distinct lack of objectives, and the simplistic and repetitive nature of its gameplay. Granted, the latter does make it pretty easy to pick up and play, but with so many great Pokemon games on the Nintendo Switch, it's difficult to see why anybody would ever want to do that. Cute, fun, and rewarding, Pokémon Quest is a laid-back game that you can return to whenever you want a little Pokemon in your life. Pokémon Café Remix sees players running their own little cafe. To do so successfully, they'll need to complete simple puzzles in order to serve visiting Pokémon food and drink. The presentation is pretty cute and the gameplay itself can be a great way to pass the time, though it's the kind of game that most people will get bored of pretty quickly. Like most other modern free-to-play titles, the game features in-app purchases, which come in the form of golden acorns. Players can use these to continue playing after they run out of lives to avoid having to wait. It's also possible to purchase unlimited play periods, which can come in handy when tackling some of the more challenging post-game content.